Hi, specify ledger options for Oracle Cloud General Ledger. In this topic, we are going to be having a look at specifying our ledger options. As you know, once you have got all of your 4 CCs, chart of accounts, calendar, currency, subledger accounting together, and you have created your ledger, you then have to specify your ledger options. Let's get into the application to show you the ledger options. Once you log into Oracle, go to tasks here, go to down, my enterprise setup and maintenance. Select financials, go to down. Once you select financials, you can write here specify ledger options and select specify ledger options. So we have our general information, which is your ledger name, description, currency, chart of accounts that you are using. Notice that you cannot change that. So that's it now for this ledger. Same for the accounting calendar. I cannot change my accounting calendar, or once I have opened my first period, I cannot change that either. And I just want to mention one other thing about your first open period, because here it is telling you select a period after the first defined period in the ledger calendar to enable running translation. You cannot run translation in the first defined period of a ledger calendar. So you have to choose your first open period very carefully. Then we have a number of future enterable periods. We have got one set in here, but you can have as many as you like. So this is where it will put the period to a status of future entry. So you could enter your journals, for example, but you cannot post them. Of course, the more of those future enterable periods you have, then your users will have an option to pick them in the list of values when they are entering their transactions. So could be more prone to error, but you might have your current period open and then the next period is future entry, so that you can enter transactions. You can change this at any time. So if I wanted to change that to future enterable periods, I can, and then when I next open an accounting period for this ledger, it will mark to future entry periods. Then we have our subledger accounting, where we are using or choosing here as this SC standard accrual with encumbrance, where we are going for this accounting method. You have got with the system, and there are also standard accrual for China, standard accrual for encumbrance, US federal. These others have been copied from the standard ones and then amended to suit particular accounting requirements. And the journal language, what is the language of your journal will be. Then we have our subledger, we have got in the period close section, we have our retained earning account. This is where it is going to take the net of your revenue and expense balance and put it into retained earning at the year end, and it will go to this particular account. But this is like a template, really, because it will do it for each of your balancing segment values. So it won't just stick everything into, for example, 01. If you have got entries in 02, 03 company for example, then it will do retained earning for 02, 03, so it's like a template. Same with cumulative translation adjustment account, and the cumulative translation adjustment account is used for translation when you run translation, because there are properly going to be a difference in your translator trial balance, because it uses different exchange rate for different account types, so the difference will go to the cumulative translation adjustment account that you put it in here, and as I say, they are like template. And then if we come over here, we got our default period end rate and the period average rate types. So these periods end rate can be used in re-evaluation, for example. So these are exchange rates, the defaults then you might want to use. Track re-evaluation gain or loss by multiple segments if you wanted to. You can have up to 5 segments that you can track your re-evaluation gain or loss by, and you have to enable it here, but there is also a segment label that you would need to assign to those segments. We have also the option to prevent general ledger period closure when open subledger period exists, and it does exactly what it says there for a number of our subledgers, for example accounts payables, accounts receivables, assets, projects. If you tick that box, it will check that the subledger periods are closed as well before it lets you close off the general ledger. Scrolling down, we have got our journal processing, and this has balancing and entry of a journal. So balancing, do you want to enable suspense accounting or not? And if we do we enable it for general ledger or subledger accounting? So basically what this is doing is making sure that your journals balance, and if they don't balance, what do you want to do? Do you want to post it to a suspense account and then deal with the differences later, or do you want the posting to fail? So when the posting is being done, that posting process checks the entered amount in the journals and the accounted amounts in the journal and the balancing segment values to determine whether a journal balances. When a journal doesn't balance within the money side of things, the posting process will use the setup that you put it in here to process those differences and automatically balances the journal. But when the differences cannot be handled by the setup that you have put in here, or even if you haven't enabled anything in here, then the posting process is going to fail. The suspense accounts will be used if the journal doesn't balance within the entered amount and the rounding account is storing differences in counted amounts for the journals if they are within the threshold that you enter down here. However, this is the suspense of accounts. This is our threshold. Here we have option to enable journal approval. Do you want to have our journal approved before they got posted? Do you want to notify the persons that entering the journal that they have picked a period? So when you are in a journal entry, it is that the latest open period that defaults into the journal entry. If you pick period prior to that one, you get a little pop-up message if this checkbox is enabled. We also have an option to enter statistical journals. Now these journals can be pure statistics. You can do that by entering a statistical currency in the currency field, or you can have mixed statistical and monetary journals where you can put in your journal in whatever currency you like, functional currency, foreign currency, but you can also enter statistical amounts against the money amount. So that would need to be ticked for you to be able to do that. Allow mixed statistical and monetary journals. The other option is validate reference date. Now the reference state is making sure that the date is in an open or future entry period. So if I click in here, as you can see, it says verify the date is an open or future interval period. I am not going to change that for this particular ledger. Then we have our limit journal to a single currency. So you can enforce single currency journals for a journal source, and the limit applies to journals entered on the create journals page and to the journals that are imported. You have to enable the option here, and then you also flag the journal source that you want this to apply to. And in this case, you have to navigate to manage journal source and check or click the option there. Scrolling down even further, we have got our reconciliation. So we can enable reconciliation, and this is if we want to use the clearing account reconciliation functionality, where let's say you have got an asset clearing account and you want to make sure that everything has come out of there at the end of the month, or if it hasn't. Why hasn't it? You can identify it, so you can have that reconciling account and then either do a manual or automatic reconciliation. We have also got separate journals by accounting date during journal import, so it will create individual journal entries for each accounting date. Moving further on down, we have, do we want to enable intercompany account? So if we are transacting between companies within our organization, it can automatically generate those balancing lines to balance up your journal. If you take that box, you are going to get a message popping up to tell you to go and create those balancing accounts. But of course, this has already been done for, or not been done for this ledger. And then auto or our reversal options, journal reversal criteria set, and the journal reversal criteria will specify the options that you want for your category of journals to reverse. So for example, you might want two accruals to reverse out in the next non-adjusting period. So you can then set up these journal reversal criteria sets to deal with automatically reversing your journals and link that into your ledger here. And then in order to reverse those journals automatically, you have to run process called auto reverse, and you can get that to kick off automatically by taking this box. So when you open up your accounting period, then it can, and it will, if you take that box, automatically run that auto reverse process. And then you can choose as well as whether you want to synchronize reversal between your primary and secondary ledger. So if you reverse a journal in your primary ledger, do you want to replicate it within or synchronize? I should say replicate it within the secondary ledger. And then finally our sequencing. We can choose to have an accounting and document sequencing by ledger or legal entity or no sequencing. And then we can choose for document sequence to enforce it for our subledger as a payable receivables. And we can also enforce chronological date order on document accounting date as well. So those are our ledger options. Appreciate your comments, your questions. I hope also to subscribe, and thanks for watching.